The grand opening for Heritage Auto in Logan is finally here. Come enter our huge raffle. Every time you visit Heritage this week, you'll get a free entry. Come to win a half beef in a full freezer, a 55-inch Samsung 4K TV, Apple products, drones, laptops, appliances, video games, and much more. Oh yeah? Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram questions? You're going to love our grand opening prices. Every car is below factory invoice this week. The all-new Heritage grand opening event in Logan. This weekend only, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. How will employers react to the latest mask guidance for fully vaccinated Americans? We'll have legal analysis. Also, does taking a stand on social issues help or hurt your business? We'll examine the companies who appear helped by activism and how cheating at school is easier than ever, rampant, and has no signs of slowing. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Monday morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news, weather, and sports.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
The following is a paid program of commercial time on KVNU. The information, offers, and claims are solely those of the sponsor and not the opinions of this station, its affiliates, management, or employees. It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And we welcome you to the show on this cloudy Saturday morning. We'll feel right in with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden. And Mark, we were just talking off air that as much as I don't like looking out the windows of the studio here and seeing the clouds, we need the moisture, and let's hope we get a little bit of it.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. And it's been a great week. I mean, the weather's been wonderful.
Hasn't
It's
it?
been sunny and nice. What day was it? Like Wednesday, it was like 70 degrees and just the sun shining. It was super nice. So great time to be outside, do some planting. And, we're moving into that stretch of May where it's safe for us to plant tender crops. So I've got a lot of people coming in, getting their beans, getting their corn, planting their cucumbers, thinking about planting their tomatoes and peppers. We've got, good weather coming. It doesn't look like we have any frost in the forecast for the next week or 10 days. So that puts us towards the latter part of May, which we might be all right. So I'm not a weatherman, and I'm not trying to forecast what's going to happen in May. But usually our last frost happens around the 20th of May, and so that's coming up here pretty soon. The one date you want to watch out for is a full moon, which I think is on the 26th, and so that's when we usually get those drops in temperature. So kind of keep an eye on 24th, 25th, 26th. That time period could have a little bit of frost again in the valley like we did last week. So,
And you and I were talking that with the dry weather that we have had, as hot as it's been, we're starting to see things dry out. And so it's probably time to start transitioning to watering a little bit. Otherwise, it could get it worse.
And there's some great things you can do to conserve water. We've adjusted our garden and a lot of our flower beds over to soaker hoses, and so we're using soakers. And compared to a sprinkler, a soaker hose will do as good or a better job than the sprinkler will, and it also uses about 70% less water. So that's a huge water savings. So 70% less water to do the same or a better job than what a sprinkler would. And so we've adjusted our garden all to soaker hoses, and our lawn, we're using some water holding products that will help the soil absorb and retain the moisture longer, like Hydrotain. A new product that we're carrying this year is called Back to Green. It's made for areas that are stressed and struggling. It's got a water holding material in there. Once it gets into the soil, it's very attractive to the water. So what it will do is it'll pull the water right down into the soil and hold that moisture there so that the grass, plants, vegetables, can utilize the water a lot better, and you have less of it that evaporates off. And it's got a little bit of compost, and it's got a little bit of iron in there as well too, to really green the lawn up and make it look much, much better.
It's almost just like a sponge. It just absorbs that water up and then holds on
to
it.
So it's actually a wetting agent, and what it does is it makes the water so it doesn't repel from the soil. So the water and soil kind of actually repel each other, and so they kind of push each other away like a magnet would. Instead of attracting, you get those negative and those positive ions, and they'll push each other away. And so what this does is it makes the soil much, much more attractive to the soil, to the water. And then the water, when it hits the soil, it just like sucks it right down in. It absorbs it instead of it evaporating and running off. And so a product like the Back to Green will last about 60 days. So you can put it on right now before the heat kicks in. It'll be working through June, and then do a second application about 4th of July. And it'll last until about Labor Day for you. And so it actually will help decrease the amount of water that you're using on your lawn by about 30 to 40%. And we've got some other products as well too. Hydrotane, it's one we've been selling for probably the last 5 or 6 years, and the Hydrotane lasts even longer. It lasts about 90 days, and Hydrotane is amazing in what it will do. So we've been able to eliminate one full watering out of our watering cycle throughout the summertime. Even in the hottest, driest part of July, we've been able to go from say Monday, Wednesday, Friday waterings to go to a Monday, Thursday watering. And so we've eliminated one full day in there. And so if you're watering 3 times a week and you take one application out, you just save yourself 33% of water. And so we can really decrease the amount of water we're using and get a much better result. And we might see a little bit of stressed lawns this summer if it gets really hot. But if you're using Hydrotane or if you're using Back to Green, it's going to make your water much, much more effective, and it's going to help absorb that in. Your lawn's not going to stress as much. And if we get on water restrictions fairly quickly into the summer, which is a good possibility.
Yeah, very likely.
Yeah, it's a very good possibility. You'll be able to cut your water back considerably and still keep your lawn looking amazing. So, yeah.
So,
it's nice.
Number of things that we can talk about today, whether it's keeping that lawn green, taking care of the garden that pretty much we can start to plant.
Yeah.
Plus, also, we need to talk about flowers and everything.
I was going to say the greenhouses are full.
beds.
We just spent the last 2 days restocking the greenhouse and the nursery section. So we got some beautiful shrubs in yesterday, and greenhouses are full of flowers. We just got some more gallon tomatoes in. We've been out of gallon tomatoes for like 2 weeks, and we haven't been able to get any. And so we finally got some more in yesterday. So that's exciting. And lots of different varieties of vegetables, lots of varieties of flowers, perennials. I just unloaded gorgeous perennials yesterday, and they looked amazing. So the greenhouses are full. This looks like a great week upcoming to get outside and do some planting. A little bit cooler, not so hot, so high 60s, 70s. That's like perfect for this time of year. I wish it would stay like this for like another month.
Another month would be great. Plus, also, if we get a little of this rain, it would just be perfect to water those plants that you've just put in.
Yeah, absolutely. So the greenhouses are full. Great time to fertilize the lawn as well, too. So if you've been thinking about fertilizing, excellent time for fertilizing. Superb time for controlling weeds. So we just had a little project at my mom's house. We did a lot of weeding of all her flower beds, and then the next day I went through with a pre-emergent and applied that pre-emergent. So since we got all those weeds out, nice bare ground, we've got some spots to plant some flowers and to kind of spruce it up and make it look nice, but I didn't want more weeds coming up. So I put a pre-emergent all through the flower beds, all the way around her house, around her garage, down the property line, and down the side of her garden as well too, and that will prevent weeds for the next 3 to 4 months from coming up. So took some effort, took a lot of hands and a lot of hours, but we got those flower beds all cleaned up, put that pre-emergent down, and it's going to kill new weed seeds as they germinate, and so it'll save us having to go back and do that again in 2 weeks, which is what would happen. So great time for controlling weeds. Excellent time for fertilizing, and it doesn't get any better than this for getting out in the garden and planting the vegetable garden. So, not too bad at all.
So call in with your questions for your lawn, your garden, all things gardening. It's what we're talking about this morning. The phone lines are open at 753-5868, 1-800-369-5868. And Mark, we can start out on the lines this morning. We have Paul who's joining us first. Paul, welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you, Paul?
Well, it's a little colder up here in Idaho than it is down in there, but
What? I thought the weather was always great in Idaho.
well, maybe not in Blackfoot. Hey, I got a couple of questions. I went and fertilized my grass about 2 weeks ago, and it's just I got to mow it twice a week.
Yes.
But I got a huge variety of dandelions. Am I going to be okay to treat those, or do I need to wait a little bit?
Now is a great time. In fact, where temperatures are in the high 60s, low 70s, it doesn't get any better for weed-free zone. I mean, it will work in daytime temperatures as cold as 45 degrees. So even if we get some colder days coming up, perfect time to do that. I went through and sprayed weeds in my patio and in an area where we park some of our vehicles, and a spot where we decided to take a tree out last year and had weeds popping up all in there. Sprayed those like a week ago. Weeds are completely gone. Weed Free Zone just does an amazing job. Burr buttercup, morning glory, wild violets, thistles, mallow, dandelions, but it won't hurt your turf at all, so it won't hurt your grass in any way, and it will do an excellent job on those hard-to-kill broadleaves.
Okay, can I use that through my raspberries then?
It would damage your raspberries too. And so it will basically kill everything but grass. So you can't use it around vegetables or flowers or anything that's kind of susceptible to it. But there is one product you could be very selective with, and it's an older product, but it's been reintroduced, and it's called Decimate. And the Decimate is kind of like Roundup, but it's a completely different formula. So it biodegrades much quicker. It's gone in 24 hours. It's a safer product to use, and it does basically the exact same thing. It won't travel through the soil, won't travel through the root system, has to go in through the green leafy part of the plant, and then it works systemically down into the root system and will kill those roots out. So excellent on morning glory, some of those really hard to kill weeds. It will kill grasses as well too. And as long as you don't get it on the raspberries, like on the leaves of the raspberries, it won't bother them at all. Yeah, won't bother them a bit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, my second question is, I bought some cherry trees from you guys about 3 years ago, but I've got one of them that is got a softball size ball of sap at the base.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of concerned. I don't want to lose them because they're really good trees.
Yeah. Have you noticed any like wood shaving sawdust inside the ball, or is it just a glob of sap?
Clear.
It's clear all the way through. There's a canker that gets into pretty much all the stone fruits, and it can cause these little cankers to form on the bark and on the twigs, and you'll get little splits in there. And as the sap is aggressively flowing in the springtime like it has been, you'll get some oozing of the sap, and it's basically the tree's way of protecting itself. When the bacteria gets in and starts to do some damage, the tree will. It's kind of like when you get cut, it bleeds to clean the wound out, and it does pretty much the same thing. So the tree's bleeding a little bit to try and cleanse the wound, and so using a antibacterial, antifungal disease control would really be helpful. So there's some great ones out there. Anything with copper in it, so copper soap would be excellent. The new complete disease control from Monterey. It's a bacteria, but it's a good bacteria instead of a bad bacteria, so it controls diseases. Daconil. There's some great antifungal products that have peroxide in there, and basically you can spray your tree right after the blossoms drop off. So as soon as the blossoms drop off, we can spray. It'll take care of powdery mildew that we're starting to see. It'll take care of shot hole fungus, which was a big problem for a lot of people last year, and you want to do that right after the blossoms drop off. And spray the trunk, spray the twigs as well too, and it can help with this particular disease that will cause what's called gummosis that affects a lot of stone fruits as well too. So I like to do mine. Go ahead.
Do I need to take off that sap ball?
You know what? Let it harden, and then you should be able to just like kind of cut it off with a pocket knife and just kind of clean that up. Critical that you spray right after the blossoms drop. and also in the fall as the leaves are dropping off the tree. And that will really help with shot hole fungus and bacterial bud blight as well, too. So there's a lot of diseases we can control on our stone fruits by spraying right after the blossoms fall off, and again right after the leaves drop in the fall. So it's a really great time to try and control some of those diseases that winter over from year to year. So.
Okay, so I have to give you a plug.
Okay.
Last year I bought green beans and corn and everything from up here, and the best seeds that I've ever had have come from your store.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that.
I mean, seriously, we've had such great success growing good quality, and the stuff that you bring in is phenomenal.
We try and have the best growers. Yeah, we try and find the best growers, and most of them come from Idaho. A few from Northern California, but mostly from Idaho and Oregon, and that's where all of our seeds are grown. But we're constantly bringing in fresh seeds, new varieties to try different things. And I'll tell you what, there's been a huge shortage on seeds this year because the demand has been so high, and I can only think of a handful of varieties that we have run out of this year, and most of that is because we didn't get our crop this year. So we tried to anticipate demand, and fortunately we've been able to keep up with it. So we do have a lot of seeds in stock, and a lot of other people have run out already. So
well, I've just been so impressed with the stuff that we've gotten from you over the years. That's why we drove down there and shopped. So.
Hey, that's awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate that.
See you later.
All right, have a great weekend. Have a good weekend.
And that'll clear up the phone line, 753-KVNU, or one of the lines, that is. Or you can also call 1-800-369-5868. Paul brings up a good point. I guess we probably should have a disclaimer on all things in which we say as we talk about how you can put plants in here. We're talking about Cache Valley. I know Montpelier, they woke up to 2 inches of snow 3 days ago. And so there is a disclaimer as we're talking about how nice the weather is. We're referring to Cache Valley.
Yeah.
We realize there are some areas that are still you need to hold off on.
And everybody that lives in Cache Valley knows that, if you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes and it's going to change. So we can, forecast as much as we want. But like I said, last frost usually is around the 20th of May. Last year, our last frost was on the 23rd of May. I try and track it, so we know when those frosts happen. I like to put it on the calendar, so we can kind of keep, from year to year and go, it's a great time to plant on Mother's Day. And it's like, oh, well, we did have frost last year on the 23rd, so just to try and keep people on top of things. But like I said, if you shoot for around the 20th, you're usually in pretty good shape.
And for those of you that are living in Idaho, you realize that maybe you'll get a plant by July. Maybe.
Yeah, I thought that was Bear Lake. I thought that was Bear Lake.
Yeah, Montpelier is where I saw 2
and we do
inches
have
of snow.
We do have a lot of listeners over on the Wasatch Front as well, too. So, if you're in Tremont and Garland, Brigham City, you're a little warmer.
They're already harvesting in some cases.
It's like so you're 10 days ahead of us, and the farther south you go, then you're more like 2 weeks. So I had quite a few customers in yesterday from Salt Lake, and it's amazing how many people in Salt Lake are coming up to see us. One, because they either grew up here or they went to school here, and so they're familiar. But word's starting to spread that we have seeds, we have plants, we have things that you just don't find anywhere else. And so we've got a lot of people who've been coming up to see us. They're 10 days to 2 weeks ahead of us. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure, that far ahead. So.
Well, we have Kathy who is joining us on the line. Kathy, welcome to the Garden Guide.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kathy.
I made a mistake a few years ago of planting my tulips right next to my roses.
Okay.
And although they look beautiful and I love it, how close can I put Cazaron to the tulips without killing them?
As far as the root system goes, so I would say probably, if it were me, I'd stay probably 12 inches away from the tulips.
Okay, that's good because it's deep enough. It's about 3.5 feet deep, so I could get at least the back from.
Yep. Just to be safe, And if you wanted to move the tulips, as soon as they're done blooming, we'll cut the flowers off, but leave the stems up and leave the leaves up. and just take that flower head off. And then when the leaves kind of start to die down a little bit, which is usually the latter part of this month, you can dig those up, leave the tops on them, store them in a cardboard box or a bushel basket or something down in the basement where it's cool and dry. And the bulbs will absorb the strength from the tops back into the bulbs, and so it will feed the bulbs. It will nourish them. And then in the fall, you can break those dry tops off. You'll have these perfect, beautiful bulbs, and you could replant them and move them to a new location in October, into September, when you feel like planting your bulbs again.
That's a possibility.
Yeah. It works great. It's a really good way to rejuvenate your bulbs, and it gives you opportunity to fertilize them and get them planted again in the fall and rejuvenate those beds. Sometimes it's nice to get in there and rejuvenate the beds and kind of turn the soil over and not dig up and damage all your bulbs while you're trying to do that. So,
okay, second question. We have in our grass, we had to dig up part of our backyard, and growing next to the dug up part is some yucky grass, but it's also getting into my grass.
Yes.
Is there something I can put on my grass that won't kill the grass but will kill this weed that's looking like grass?
If you brought a sample in, I might be able to identify it and then tell you if it's something we can selectively kill without damaging the rest of your turf. Last year, my wife and I decided it was time to. I didn't decide. My wife decided, and I agreed. is what happened. That we would kill a section of our lawn out because over the years we had some annual bluegrass that snuck into one area. We had some pasture grass that got in there, just some thick, nasty grass. I mean, we've all built our homes in old pastures, and so it kind of is inherently there. So we just kind of got tired of it after the last 8 or 10 years of watching it kind of increase. And so we killed that section out and reseeded with some new grass. And I will tell you, it has been the greenest, most beautiful part of my lawn this year. And this week, I feel stupid, too. This week, we had part of our lawn was really stressing, and I couldn't figure out why the lawn was stressing. It's just like, God, we got that big rainstorm a couple of weeks ago, and we were able to get our irrigation going and turn our sprinklers on. And this one section of the lawn right next to the new place where we planted that grass was just really stressing and dry, and we couldn't figure it out. And as I was out working in the yard, I realized that the sprinklers had been set last year to get this new grass to come up, and so it was only on for 10 minutes. And so we were doing lighter waterings for 10 minutes, and I hadn't reset it back to the 40 that I usually have that station on. And the new grass was only getting 10 minutes of water, and it was staying green and gorgeous, and the rest of the lawn was getting 40 minutes, and it was looking great. And right in that transition zone where my older grass was only getting the 10 minutes, it was stressing and drying out like crazy, but the new grass was much, much more resilient, and it stayed green and lush and beautiful with a quarter of the water. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, we just bought some of the Anderson mix to put on our bad part.
Yeah.
Anyway, what is in that? What kind of grass?
So our Anderson's blend is a 5 blend of hybrid bluegrasses. And a lot of those grasses are a little more drought tolerant, so they'll stay green longer, but it's really, really soft, and it's a dark, dark green. What I did in my new section of grass, which is an old section of grass, but it's a new now, we did that mix, that Anderson's mix, and then I mixed our hybrid turf-type ryegrass in with it. And the rye has some extra water drought resistance, but it's also very resistant to insects and diseases. So it really gives you some great qualities, and it's a dark, like a really dark green, and it's very soft like the Kentucky bluegrass. So it's a very soft grass. It can be mowed short. It can be mowed tall. It is disease and insect and drought tolerant, and really has, it's blown me away when I found out that it was only getting 10 minutes compared to the 40 that the rest of the lawn was getting. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is getting 25% of the water that the rest of my lawn is, and it was equally as green.
And it looked just as good.
Yeah, it looked just as good or better. Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, I feel stupid that I didn't realize I'd not changed my sprinklers, but it was a great realization to realize that the newer varieties of grass take so much less water to keep them green and looking good. And a lot of us are struggling trying to keep our lawn green and make it look nice. And it's just over time, new varieties have been introduced that just are so much easier to maintain. For a lot of people, it might be a good time. My grass is only 20 years old, but there have been that many new innovations in the turf grass in the last 20 years that it's making that much of a difference with this new variety.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
I hope that was a long answer, Kathy, but I hope that helps. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks so much for calling. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
All right. We'll see you.
And that clears up a phone line at 753-5868, 1-800-369-5868. And before we hit the bottom of the hour, let's go to Carlos, who's joining us on the line. Carlos, welcome to the Garden Guide. Thanks for holding.
Good morning.
Good morning, Carlos.
I got a real toughie for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
I have an old barnyard that I don't have anything in it other than kochia. How do you kill it? I used to have an outfit come in and spray.
Yeah.
Not realizing that stuff is so oily that a water-based sprayed
runs right off. Yep, it just runs right off. Do you want are you going to plant anything back in there, or do you just want?
Absolutely no.
So nothing coming up in there. That's what you want.
There used to be buildings there.
Yeah.
And we've piled up all believe it or not, the horse barn. The floor was all granite stone.
Okay.
And it's been a mess. And over time, we just keep pulling rock up, and getting it out of the road.
Right.
Because I don't want to, I just don't want to do anything with it. I just want to keep it down to where, it's been a royal mess.
Yeah.
Last year, it was over 3 feet tall.
How big?
I just want to know.
How big of an area?
Half acre.
Okay, so it's a pretty good size. So you've got 20,000 square feet or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You do have some options. There is a product that is called Spurge Power that is one of my favorite herbicides. It has 3 different weed killers in it. It works on the hardest to kill stuff. So we're talking morning glory, wild violets, thistles, mallow. Should work on your kochia, no problem. It just takes out the hardest to kill stuff. It even works on snake grass. But the key to getting it to penetrate into those weeds is to use a surfactant with it. And so I would mix a spreader sticker or a surfactant with it. My favorite one is called Nano Boost. The Nano Boost is absolutely unbelievable how it works. It is some really interesting technology that I can't really spend the time to explain over the radio. But what it does is it makes it so it penetrates into the plants faster. But once it gets into the plants, it penetrates into the cell structure super quick. Like we've used it in our lawn care program for the last couple of years, and it has decreased our callbacks on weed sprays down to hardly any, where a lot of times the applicators would be out, they'd be spraying, and a big storm would roll in, and they'd just finish spraying and roll up their hoses, and a downpour would hit. When that happens and you use the Nano Boost with it, it starts to work in 15 minutes after you've sprayed. And so it penetrates very quickly, gets into that cell structure, spreads through the plant faster. It will make your Spurge Power work 10 times better than it would without. There are some other spreader sticker, enhancer, herbicide enhancer type products, but the Nano Boost is the best. The only drawback is it's about $50 for a quart, but it makes 800 gallons, and so it goes a long way. So you take a bottle home, it'll last you for 10 years. It really lasts. But you've got a half an acre, so if you bought a quart of Spurge Power, I would also recommend you put probably a quart of Weed Impede in there with it and spray at the same time. And the Weed Impede will stop new weeds from coming up for 6 months, but it won't hurt any surrounding plants. So if you have trees or shrubs or anything nearby that have root systems that go into that area, it won't hurt those at all, but it will basically stop new stuff from coming up. So you'll be able to do one application with the Spurge Power and the Weed Impede in there and basically kill everything that's out there and prevent about 95% of the weeds from coming back until next year.
Well, the other thing I have in there is puncture weed.
Oh, the puncture vine? Oh, this will eradicate that in 24 hours. You'll just watch it curl up and die. So it will do a great job. The Weed Impede is amazing, and it doesn't kill anything that's there already, but it stops new seeds as they germinate. So it'll prevent any new regrowth from seed, and the Spurge Power will take out everything out there except for grass. So if you have some grass out there, then you'd want to do like either a little bit of Roundup or a little bit of Decimate in with it to take out the grasses as well too. So we're going to do a little bit of a combo product, but it will stop weeds and kill what's out there and keep that clean for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, because earlier, a few weeks back, we sprayed it with 365 Roundup.
Yeah.
And I still see green coming up. That's why.
Okay, so if you did the 365 Roundup, that will do a really good job, but it's going to take some time. It's not a quick acting. It's slower. And so the Spurge Power, you wouldn't have to put the Weed Impede in if you did the 365. But the Spurge Power with the surfactant, it'll take out all the stuff that's existing right now.
Good.
Okay.
That's what I need to know.
All right.
Thank you.
You're
Have a
so
good
welcome.
day.
Yep, you too. Thanks, Carlos.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Sounds like almost one of those situations you want to just set a match to the whole thing, just try to burn it up, but even that doesn't do it.
But then you got all the new seeds that come up afterwards. So that Weed Impede is amazing. That's what I use through the flower beds for my mother to prevent all the weeds from coming up for the rest of the year, and it does. It lasts 6 months, so you just don't have to worry about weeds coming up for the rest of the season for October.
And you factor in a little of the extra work beforehand. You're going to save yourself
so much work. Yeah, every couple of weeks you'd have to go out there and weed it, just like we did, and this will prevent that from happening for the whole summer. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, we can take more of your calls as we hit the bottom of the hour. Phone lines are open at 753-5868, 1-800-369-5868. For the Garden Guide, it's more on the way next. With your KVNU News update here at the bottom of the hour, I'm Will Feelright. It's brought to you by Maple Creek Ranch. Well, although summer is still months away, officials are already warning of likely water shortages for the rest of the year. The warnings come as Utah Governor Spencer Cox declared a state of emergency earlier this week due to continued drought conditions. Locally, the Cache Water District is trying to maximize the water available in the county while also advocating for conservation. Board member Jeannie Simmons was a guest this week on KVNU's For the People show and spoke about the limited water resources in northern Utah.
The Bear River is a big source of water for 3 states, for Wyoming, Idaho, and Utah. But the Bear River also begins and ends in the state of Utah, so it's an interesting sort of horseshoe-shaped river. And we do, as a state, have rights to a very large share of that water. But that is all controlled by a committee that is created at the federal government level.
The Water District is urging residents to follow the statewide initiatives of Slow the Flow and WaterWise Utah. The programs help promote sustainable water use through the state. Simmons said the Water District has also partnered with Utah State University again, funding a program where residents can have their sprinkler systems checked for free.
We are funding, again, students that will go out and do water checks on your sprinkler system to make sure your sprinkler system is delivering the appropriate amount of water to your lawn, not too much or too little.
Residents can sign up for the water checks at cwel.usu.edu. Well, clouds, scatter showers, thunderstorms, just a chance of precipitation on and off through this weekend with temperatures staying right around the mid-70s during the day, high 40s overnight. Will Feelright, KVNU News.
From ABC Sports, this is Derek Dennis. The Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame is set to enshrine the class of 2020 this weekend after the original ceremony was delayed and relocated due to the pandemic. A special exhibit will be honoring the late Kobe Bryant, who will also be inducted this weekend. Former NBA star Kevin Garnett at a press conference ahead of his own induction on his relationship with Bryant.
He used to always crack on me, tell me I was too small to guard him. It was great conversation, great back and forth, and great competition.
Michael Jordan will be ushering the Lakers legend posthumously. He says he's not going to be nervous to show his emotions for someone he cared about as much as Kobe. The WNBA is back for its 25th season. There will be 32 games this year, up from last year's 22, but still down from the standard 36-game regular season. The NBA showed its love on opening night by wearing jerseys and the league's trademark orange hoodies. This is ABC Sports.
Every Saturday morning at 9, you get information to prepare you with retirement solutions for the journey ahead. It's Smart Money Ascent with Clayton Alexander of Teton Wealth Group.
How do we solve that number one fear or that number one concern? Make sure you never run out of money.
And Teton Wealth Group's Ethan Miller.
Then, when you leave Teton, when you leave our offices, you're going to have a plan that you're both excited about.
It's where your retirement questions are answered. Smart Money Ascent, Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
The Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
And welcome back. 8:40 on this Saturday morning. We'll feel right along with Mark Anderson, and we're taking your calls during the Garden Guide for all things, whether it's your lawn, whether it's your garden, talking flower beds, and even talked about raspberries a little bit this morning because they're coming up, and this is that time you've got to kind of do a little bit of preventative maintenance to help those come up.
I planted some new raspberries. We haven't done raspberries for quite a few years, and so we planted some new raspberries, and they're all coming up, looking good. I've got a few that are a little slow to emerge, but I've trimmed those back, and they're starting to send up shoots from below. So they're doing great. Cazaron's my favorite way to prevent weeds in the raspberries. So Cazaron will stop the weeds from coming up, kill the existing ones, and not damage the raspberries. So that would be a great option. That's one of the options I thought of for Carlos, but then he said he had 20,000 square feet, and it's just like, okay, you'd need 20 bags.
Yeah,
you need 20 bags of Cazaron. That's kind of a lot. Yeah, but the Spurge Power and the Weed Impede do such a great job. That will save so much work, and you won't have to go out there and cut the weeds down when they're 3 feet tall this year when that happens. But we've been talking water conservation, and I just heard the ad that you had on there about the extension doing free water sprinkling system analysis. So that's great. I know they did that a couple years ago, and then they didn't have funding for it last year, and nobody was out running around checking people's yards much last year anyway. But it's great that they're doing that again. That's awesome.
Jeannie Simmons was actually on For the People a couple days ago and was talking about that, and also a couple other programs that are here. And one of the advantages with the USU Extension Service is that you're looking at a program that the students need the credit hours, and with this grant, it's no cost to residents. Yeah. You just go to that website, cwel.usu.edu, and there's just a number of webinars. There's also the opportunity to be able to sign up to have your sprinkler system checked out. Yeah. A great resource opportunity there.
And it's free.
Yeah.
And they'll just come and do it for you. And so if you've got hot spots showing up in your lawn and you think it's just your sprinklers aren't being effective, they can come in and analyze it and see where you need to bump up your sprinklers, maybe turn them on a little bit longer, but they'll help you figure out the most efficient way to keep your lawn looking great. And we decided that CWEL is the Center for Water Efficient Landscaping. Yeah, so cwel.usu.edu. So that's great. I'm so glad that they're doing that again this year. That's an awesome service that Extension provides for people in our community. So,
and you look at what the Water Conservation District is doing. Yeah. This week, just as we were talking with them, here Governor Spencer Cox, one day later, issues an executive order bringing about the state of emergency. Yeah. It's, as you mentioned, we may not see water restrictions yet, but they're going to be coming.
But we probably will. Yeah, we probably will. And this is a concern that we've had for quite a while. here in the valley that there is a limited amount of water that we get, and as we continue to grow and we've got more and more people that come to live here because it is such a great place, we've got to think about how we can be a little bit more conservative. One of the things that I think is absolutely amazing is the new water treatment facility for Logan City. And if you don't know about the water treatment facility, so every drop of water that ends up in our sewer system, whether you're rinsing vegetables in your sink or washing your hands or washing your body or flushing the toilet, whatever it is, all the water goes into that system. And Logan City accepts the wastewater from Smithfield and Hyde Park and North Logan and Providence and River Heights. So there's a lot of communities that utilize that system. Well, our new water treatment facility will kick that water out clean and fresh for someone else downstream to use. So all that water will be treated and turned right back into our river and streams and will flow down for someone else to use, completely cleaned from detergents and waste and all that stuff. So for me, that is a very, very exciting process, and the science behind it is amazing. But when that water comes out of that facility, it's going to be as clean as it was, or
when
possibly
it came out of your tap. In some cases, better
and slightly better. As it ran down Logan Canyon, picks up all kinds of things. It's going to be cleaner than when it went into the system. So it's pretty amazing. I'm excited about that. I think that's a great asset for our community. It's an expensive project. This is very expensive, but when we're done, everybody who's downstream from Logan is going to get clean water. From Logan,
Wow.
Very
not only is it about conserving our resources, but also look at it just in a monetary. How much money, especially those who are on a culinary water system, the amount of money that you spend. My wife and I, we kind of had this argument in fun. We say, you know what, really, if we didn't get anything out of gardening, we probably wouldn't do it, because you actually probably spend more in just the watering and everything than if you were to just go to the produce section. But we do it for the experience. We do it for the experience for our kids. And, of course, that you can't really put a value on. But really, it is expensive to try to keep that garden growing.
To keep it going,
Especially if you're on a culinary water system.
Exactly. So in many cases, you can go to the grocery store and buy the stuff for less than you can grow it yourself. But there's that value of doing the work and learning how to do it, and nothing tastes the same as what comes out of your garden. It's more nutritious. It's better for you. You know exactly what's been applied to it. When it comes to pesticides and fertilizers, you know exactly what's on there, and it just tastes better. It just tastes better. But then you get to learn how to work together. You get to learn how to produce things and watch things grow. And there's just something very satisfying and rewarding of doing that process as well too. So I think it's inherent in our genes. I'll go and teach a lot of different classes for various religious and civic groups around the valley, and even on the other side of the mountain. I've been doing classes down Salt Lake even, and we talk about that. It's like it's part of our genetics, and even people who are not good at growing plants, they still love it. There's just something about getting your fingers dirty and sticking your hands in the soil and watching that something that you put in the soil just grow.
To begin to grow.
Yeah, and it's just really, really satisfying, and I really think that's part of our genetic makeup. So very, very, very interesting. So
same reason my wife makes fun of me every once in a while when I go out and talk to our fruit trees. I like to talk to them. She thinks I'm going crazy, and I probably am.
They probably have names as well too.
Exactly,
they have names. So
we still have some time to take some calls at 753-5868, 1-800-369-5868. You can share with us the names of your fruit trees and what you talk to them about, or we'll talk about anything else, whether it's water conservation or things to plant. That was one of the things we mentioned early on, and then we started getting into some phone calls.
Stuff,
Let's talk about some of the things that people can be planting right now, because really there isn't pretty much anything you can.
So all your early crops can go in. I planted my carrots about 10 days ago, and they're up already. So I have, if you're struggling to get carrots and beets to come up, I have like the perfect process on how to get those to come up, because most of the time they take 3 weeks to come up. The carrots are slow. Parsnips as well too. And I've got mine at the point now where I can get them up in about 10 days, which is just like awesome. Yeah. So all those could be planted, but now you could put in beans and corn, because it's going to take 2 weeks for them to come up, and we'll be past frost at that point. So in 2 weeks, we're going to in 2 weeks we're going to be the 30th of May. So you should be in great shape at that point for those to come up. So you can start planting all those tender seeds, because it's going to take a while for them to come up. This week I'm shooting to do probably cantaloupes, watermelons, cucumbers, peppers, tomatoes, and get those out in the garden. So the tomatoes and peppers from plants. I think I'm going to plant seeds on my cucumbers and melons and squashes, just because the soil's a little bit warmer and the weather looks like it's going to cooperate. And I'm just, sometimes I'll start them inside and then I get busy and then I let them get too big and then I stick them outside and they struggle for a while. So it's like, I'll just plant them right outside. I'll just plant them right outside and that'll be good. Hey, did you make it to the Center Street Market this week on Wednesday?
No, but we were talking about it today. Actually, in a news meeting I was attending yesterday morning, and we were asking. None of us had gotten over there to check it out.
It turned out great. I mean, for the first day, there were not as many vendors. I know there's a lot more coming this week, but there was a lot of people. There was food. There was just kind of traffic going all day. So the Center Street Market goes from 8 o'clock until 6. And it's kind of experimental to see what times are going to work the best, when people are most excited about being there. But for right now, every Wednesday we've got a market on Center Street, and it's the street's open, so you can still drive through, but it's all on the sidewalk. Sidewalks are big enough that we can have a little market there on the sidewalk, and it's kind of like the sidewalk sale, but there's food and there's people doing promotions out there, and we've got Julia, the pie lady in front of the store. So she was like doing fresh baked pies and giving out samples and selling pieces of pie and full pies and made to order pies as well too. So there's a lot of different vendors that are going to be there. Of course, there's all the people that already inhabit Center Street as well, opening their doors up. So we had plants out there. I think we're going to do a fresh flower market kind of style right there in front of the store. So hopefully that will work out this week. And the Center Street Market is every Wednesday from 8 o'clock until 6, and we'll see how that goes. I think it's going to build a little bit of momentum, and people are going to want to be there. So a little bit different from the Gardeners Market that's going on right now, and it's more, it's not necessarily just plants and vegetables and things. It's more geared towards a little bit more retail market.
Everything.
It's clothing and other items as well too. So,
good.
Yeah.
Should
be
something
really
to look forward to. That'll be coming up on Wednesday. Yeah. Really, pretty much everything can go into the garden now.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would still plan on having some frost protection available.
Just in case,
yeah. So like I said at the top of the show, 23rd of May last year we had our last frost. On average, it's around the 20th of May. And this year, our full moon is on the 26th, which is usually when we have our coldest temperatures in May. So we definitely want to watch out for that. Compost tea's brewing. We've gone through all of our 2.5-gallon containers, so we're sold out of 2.5s, but I have a pretty good selection of 1-gallon containers as well too. And I actually have a lot of customers that bought 2.5-gallon containers last year. They're bringing them back this year, and we're cleaning them and relabeling them so they can reuse those containers as well too. So I've got new labels for this year, and so if you've got some 2.5s and you want to do 2.5 still, we can relabel them for you so you can use those again this year. But the compost tea is brewing daily, so we've got a lot of people that are taking advantage of that, and it's amazing what the plants are doing when they get the compost tea. I did talk about mildew and shot hole fungus. Great time to spray after the blossoms drop off, but it's also apples are in bloom right now and pears. It's time to spray for fire blight. So if you haven't sprayed for fire blight, this is the perfect time to try and prevent that from happening. Got a notification from USU yesterday that fire blight is fairly prevalent. So temperatures, temperatures are perfect for it. We're getting a little bit of rain here and there. That spreads it, makes it spread all over the place. And so apples and pears, hawthorns, crab apples, flowering pear, pyracantha, gets into cotoneasters a little bit as well too. Got to watch out for all those plants and try and spray preventatively so you don't get fire blight and have to prune, and really does a lot of damage.
And for people who are not familiar with fire blight, one of the main symptoms of fire blight that you'll start to see first off is the way the leaves will just start to curl up.
Yeah. And they kind of curl and twist a little bit. So like the leaves, somebody brought a sample in of their tree from damage from last year, and the leaves on it had curled and twisted to where the leaves looked kind of like a shepherd's crook, where the stem was attached. And so you'll get this kind of shepherd's crook look to the leaves that are on the trees, and it will turn black. In the case of pears, the damage will turn black. On apples, it will turn more of a rusty brown color. And so you definitely want to watch for that. But it is a bacterial infection that gets into the trees and will do a lot of damage in a very short amount of time as it spreads through the tissue of the tree, through the circulatory system. And basically, you've got to amputate. You've got to prune out the parts that are infected to prevent it from getting further into the tree. And as it works its way back into the tree, it'll just continue to kill more tissue. So it's very damaging.
So to spray, if you can treat it before it even starts to infect your tree, then
that's the way to go, because it's hard to stop it after it's
once
inside.
It's inside.
Yeah. And so you've got copper soap works great, streptomycin sulfate works really well, and garden floss is our go-to. If you get a little bit of infection, it'll actually stop the infection from spreading. So got a phone call.
We do.
Like,
Lori's joining us on the line.
All right.
Lori, welcome to the show.
Thank you. My question is about your compost tea. We purchased one of your big jugs anyway.
Yes.
But anyway, can you pour that right on the plants, or should you just do it on the on the bottom? How does that work?
You can do both. And so when I use the compost tea, I water the plants with it, but I also get it all over the leaves as well too. So the nutrient that is in the compost tea will be absorbed in through the leaves as well as up through the root system. And the microbes and microorganisms that are in there that kind of pre-digest that nutrition, they will eat up diseases that are on the plants. They will break down organic matter and toxins and pesticides that have built up in your soil over time. They'll break that down as well too, so it'll actually cleanse your soil. So get it into the soil around the plants, very beneficial that way, but you can also get it on the plants as well.
Okay. So can I put it on trees besides potted plants?
I use it on plants that are a little bit more needy. So I use it on tomatoes and peppers to try and encourage some extra growth out of those. Hanging baskets, it's great for hanging baskets and flowers individually. For a larger organism like a tree, I don't know if that's going to be very beneficial for you. You'd have to use lots of it. And so it's more for potted plants, plants that are struggling, annuals it works really, really effectively on, but larger trees and shrubs, it's not really going to be very helpful for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wondered what all I could put it on.
Yeah. Our customers who use it on their
plants.
Yeah, our customers that use it on their tomato plants, that's when they really, really see a huge difference on what it does to their plants. And then they come back the next year. It's like, my tomatoes were amazing last year. I got to get some more. And so, it's those quick growing annuals that you really, really see a difference with. But, we use it mostly for hanging baskets, planters, flowers, and for specific vegetables to really get them going.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty. Well, that's just my question then.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Lori.
Thanks, Lori. Have a great weekend.
Okay. Bye.
All right.
Speaking of trees, though, I did several years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, we planted a peach tree And it was very small, and we used compost tea that first summer.
Oh, yeah.
And just as it was getting established and starting out, and it really helped it take root and take off.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you've got an established tree, you're right.
Well,
you would just need
bigger. Newly transplanted plants. It's great. It's great for those. So if they're struggling or stressed or they don't have a big root system because they just got transplanted to a new location, it would be great for those. But that's why it's so effective for a lot of vegetables, because we've just transplanted those into the garden or they've just emerged, and it works great. But for a bigger established tree or shrub, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah.
We'd need one of your full vats.
Yes, you'd need the 60-gallon, the 60-gallon,
and then it
refill.
would work. You going to sell those sometime? That would be.
We have the concentrate, and so if and I've had a lot of customers who live in, like, say, Preston. They're like, I really want to do the compost tea, but it's not very, efficient for me to drive, from Preston all the way down here to get the compost tea, every week. Yeah. And so we have given them the concentrate to make their own. And so if you want to make your own, it is even less expensive to make your own. All you need is a big container, some water. I've got the concentrate. We'll show you how to mix it, and an air stone. All you need is an air stone with the air pump, and just aerate that water for 20.
Keep it circulating.
So for 24 hours, and you've got basically exactly what we're making at the store. So we can teach you very easily how to make your own. I've got the secret recipe to make it happen. And if you want to brew your own, it's very efficient, very effective, and quite inexpensive as well too. Right. So yeah.
Well, Mark, it's been great, and we'll see you back here next week.
Yes, we'll be here on the Garden Guide. A lot of things happen at Anderson's this weekend, so come in and see us this weekend at Anderson's.
News Talk KVNU.